The Honourable Marama Davidson.
Mr. Speaker, the people have spoken, and like them, the Green Party opposes this Treaty Principles Bill. Mr. Speaker, I have never felt so much FOMO than that when I was unable to be working and was mostly confined to my home and felt the kaha, the wairua, the beautiful energy of the hikoi all around the country and the hikoi to this place, Te Whare Pāremata. Tēnā koutou e te whānau, tēnā tātou katoa. I was so inspired by your beautiful kotahitanga energy that I ran and found my tino rangatiratanga flag and took a photo in my backyard as me trying to grab any contribution to feel like I could be a part of the movement that the people so brilliantly created off the back of this miserable piece of little bill. And Mr. Speaker, that backyard photo went a little bit viral, but nowhere near as viral as the haka that happened in this place. Nei rā taku mihi ki a koe, e te rangatira hana rāwhiti. Mr. Speaker, it is perhaps ironic then that this is the first and only chance that I get to speak to this bill, but I will be using my space today mostly to amplify the voices of the submitters. After all, that is what a second reading speech will most normally do. This House will and should hear repeatedly today that 90% of the submissions oppose, and that's from 307,000 submissions, record-breaking submissions to the Select Committee, oppose this bill. And also record-breaking 80% of the oral submissions also oppose this bill, and that is also from 529 oral submissions. The people spoke, there was one clear message, Toitu Te Tiriti. Mr. Speaker, part of the reason why the people were not fooled at all by this bill is because we now have generations of understanding that Te Tiriti was always a dream from mine and your ancestors, the promise of peoples to take the best possible care of each other. And that is an iconic kōrero from Bishop Manuhuia Bennett, which actually needs to be the understanding of where we are going to. And we can take even further the voice of one of the submitters, Dale Takitimu, who said, "We assert that Te Tiriti is a core agreement that affirms the place to belong and a place to stand for everyone in Aotearoa." We can also look at the incredible poetry of another submitter, Carlo Mila, who outlines perfectly the vision for Aotearoa for our mokopuna to come. Carlo says, the answer is Te Tiriti, not separatist exclusion. It's the fair terms of inclusion, an ancestral strategy for harmony, a covenant of cooperation. It's how we live ethically on land that was never ceded. Mr. Speaker, the Green Party is proud to have always affirmed the mana motuhake, the tino rangatiratanga, the self-determination of iwi and hapu guaranteed by Te Tiriti. Mr. Speaker, we had a dig around. We did a bit of research, and what we found, which I know that the pushers of this bill did not anticipate, was that there has not been another bill with a record-breaking number of submissions to Select Committee that was met with such overwhelming power of opposition. And I am so proud once again to highlight the people have spoken, and they have spoken clearly and strongly. The people are not fooled by the ACT Party trying to ignore the injustice and inequity that has seen, for example, that Māori are 3 times more likely to be arrested and convicted of a cannabis-related crime than non-Māori, but let us be clear, for doing the same thing. So this is what we need to point out. 3 times more likely to be arrested and convicted for doing the same thing. The ACT Party, I challenge them to release their myth of special Māori treatment and find their equity bone, find their equity analysis, ignore their myth of the privilege of Māori privilege, and find their equity analysis deep within their bones. I implore them so they do not bring any more embarrassing bills like this to the House. Mr. Speaker, Te Tiriti is forever, and that's what we have heard, and that's what I will say again and again. But what we know is that this Crown has not yet actually upheld its promise, its side of taking care of each other. And again, we can go to the words of Carlo Mila in the second part of her passage that I read out earlier. She says, "But we watch political parties sow seeds of disunity, using disingenuous history, harnessing hate speech and the haka of destiny, scapegoating vulnerable enemies, sharing just a joke fantasies of blowing up ministries targeting ethnic minorities." Mr. Speaker, this was an incredible opportunity for the Prime Minister, who is not even here, receiving the harm.
Sorry, point of order.
I take that back.
Withdraw and apologise.
I withdraw and apologise. Mr. Speaker, it would have been a fantastic opportunity to see the leaders across all of our parties be here.
I'm sorry, that's the same line.
Okay.
Just move on.
I'll move on. Where are our leaders listening to us today?
You can't do that. The member's speech will be terminated if it doesn't come back to point.
Point of order, Mr.
Point of order, Dr. Duncan Webb.
Speaker's rulings make it very clear that there's a convention not to mention a member's absence. But there is an exception to that, whereas it is particularly an important moment. And this is a particularly important moment where hundreds of thousands of people have made a submission, and one member in particular has chosen not to be here.
Actually, Dr. Webb, you've just exacerbated the problem, and I'd advise you not to push that too much further. Marama Davidson, return to the basis of your speech without reference to anybody else in this House.
I no longer need to. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the movement, and I will also take this time, I think it's appropriate, to acknowledge the incredible Hine Whare Harawira, who lies right at this time at Whakapara. As her whānau says, an unstoppable force in the drive of tino rangatiratanga, and I think it is really appropriate that we acknowledge her particular presence and passing in this House today, and that Hine Whare and so many others are just part of generational work that has amounted to the huge uprising from a diverse range of people from diverse communities who have said very, very clearly, we are not falling for what this bill is trying to do. We have now got generations of examples of us working together and upholding Te Tiriti, seeing the value and the benefits and the beauty and the vision of taking good care of each other, working together at the grassroots level and understanding they knew what this bill was trying to do. They could sniff the division a mile away, and they came to Select Committee, they marched the streets, they signed petitions, they wrote postcards, and they said very clearly, Toitu, Te Tiriti is forever, and we are not fooled by the attempts to divide us. In fact, there was a particular moment in the Select Committee submissions where we even had an ACT MP attempt to drive migrant away from Te Tiriti centering, where the Muslim community leader Anjam Rahman was asked if she was comfortable by that ACT MP, if she was comfortable with new migrants potentially being left with different rights to Māori, and she said, I reject your framing, I reject your question. This is a way to try and sow division between communities, and we see you, is what she said. She said, when you go to ethnic minority communities and try and promote division between our community and theirs, we hear you when you say, oh, your community suffers racism too and they get special treatment. And she said in her submission, Māori did not get special treatment. They did not get privileges. They are getting the rights that were promised to them and the help that should have been upheld in a very minuscule way. I am so pleased that the people came and spoke. We are proud to stand here today to oppose the Treaty Principles Bill. Toi tu te tiriti.
Thank you all very much for watching. This is one in a 15-part series looking at what our members of parliament had to say on the Treaty Principles Bill. I hope through doing this series you'll get an understanding of what our members of parliament thought of the bill, why they supported it, why they opposed it, and ultimately why the bill was voted down.